What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog Fantasy and the Underdog Fantasy family. And if you use promo code TRIPLE over at Underdog Fantasy, they will match your first deposit up to $100 over any sport. So you put in 100, you get 100. You put in 50, you get 50. A very good deal, if I do say so myself. So make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy for all your best ball drafting needs. We're back tonight. The karaoke man, a man of receipts, and a man with beard and beer tonight. Marty Party, Doc, and Lil Cheesecake in the house. Marty, I'm sorry, I couldn't think on the fly of what to.
I was gonna say, that could be that'd be like the next podcast here, brought to you by Triple Play. Beard and beers.
Beard and beers and baseball.
Beers and baseball.
Whoa. I only thing is I would say I know that our buddies Curlin and Simeone did beer, bourbon, and baseball.
Yeah. Yes, it'd be close to it. I actually have the shirt and a glass that says that on there.
Oh, did you really?
Came to that show. Yeah, it was a good pandemic times, dude. Drinking on a Tuesday because why not? It was great.
Yeah,
I forgot that was during the pandemic. Yeah.
Yep.
The best.
Maybe we'll ask them if we can if we can link that new name in there.
They actually stole it from somebody else who already had a podcast name.
Or did they? So we can do it too. That's fine. It's all good. Little Cheesecake, do you have a song for us to sing to us? Because you were the karaoke man last night.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Hey, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I'm stopped now.
A little serenading for those listening at night. The little cheesecake for you. And Doc's in the house, who was victory lapping all before the show. And I do believe people need to call him out for some of his bad takes because he was.
I'd actually like to recognize someone on a milestone because I don't think we do that enough on this show.
What milestone is that?
And Julio Daniel Martinez on June 27th, 2023. Hit his 300th home run of his career. It was also his 18th of this season. So I officially won the bet. David, when you said this last week, he was at 16 and he went on a 12-game homerless streak. And I was like, maybe David is putting some voodoo curse on me. He's admitting defeat early. It has been decided.
Yeah, I'm glad you're one of your few calls that went right this season.
Shout out to the league. It is decided.
There we go. Uncle Ted Talks LC says no more singing from you. He needs to shoot his ears. Take him out back to his ears. And what's funny is I saw Dane Dunning's game last night. What did he go? He got 8 2/3. He only gave up one hit or something ridiculous. But when I saw Dane Dunning's line, I was like, oh, I know our Uncle Ted Talks is going to bring that up tonight. Dane Dunning just keeps doing it, man.
There's a strong possibility that Ted Talks is Dane Dunning.
It could be. It could be. Maybe Uncle Ted is his cousin or something too. Not a bad guy to be related to. So let's get things started. You guys know we'll start off with our WOW players of the week. TJ Friedl kicking things off here. Over his last 7 games, a 308, 438, 538 line. A 345 line is always going to be good. 2 home runs, 9 runs, 6 steals. He had 2 of them just alone yesterday against the Orioles with a bomb. So he had a sock and a shoe, a combo meal, whatever you want to call it. He started 8 straight games for the Cincinnati Reds. And for those that were wondering if he was going to sit against lefties due to how bad he's been in the past, well, he's played his last 2 against left-handed pitching and has batted leadoff in 6 of his last 8 games he started for them. So he's getting a lot of at-bats for them right now. Elsie, I believe you have TJ Friedl. Doc, I believe you have TJ Friedl. Tell me
one more.
Marty,
yes.
You have TJ Friedl. Why don't you tell us about TJ Friedl if he's worth a pickup?
I know, as always, you guys are probably wondering, did Marty pick him up in his 10-team league? And the answer is yes, he did this time. I picked him up off the waiver wire here. Against lefties, as famously I said, he can't hit versus lefties this year. In 33 plate appearances, he's slashing 379, 419 with the 552 slug, 6 home runs on the season, 14 stolen bases, batting 320. As of right now, he's a pickup in all leagues. I don't care, 10, 12, whatever it is. He's already gone in 15-team leagues. Fire him up. I love the Reds are just incredibly hot. Great stadium, leading off. Todos Los Diaz, fire him up, baby.
He got hit so much yesterday. People were just calling him Terry, and he was actually starting to look over.
That's real first name, Terry.
I think so.
I'm gonna call him Terrence.
Is that Justin Mason's guy, TJ Friedl? If I'm not mistaken.
Terry Lee Friedl.
He's producing. It's a good call from him because I think he wasn't somebody anybody was really excited to draft, and he's producing in a big way in multiple categories for you. So TJ Friedl, definitely worth the pickup for sure, especially the fact that he's hitting leadoff. He's going to get you a lot of counting stats that you want. Doc, there's a lot of rookies in this show. I try not to put as many rookies every week just because there's not a lot of analysis we could probably give on players this early. But with the lack of proven players to pick up and the amount of young players coming up, we've got a lot this week. Jordan Westburg is the first guy that we're going to throw in here. Over his first 3 games, 417, 500 slash. So again, only 3 games. So not a lot of stats to accumulate. Does have 2 RBIs, but in the minor leagues right now, he had a 939 OPS with 7 stolen bases and 301 plate appearances in AAA. So he was producing for them. The Orioles have one of the greatest young lineups coming up in baseball, them, the Diamondbacks, and the Reds. So Jordan Westburg, is he somebody that you would pick up?
I would, but I want to caution it. Well, first of all, what I really like about Jordan Westburg, his first plate appearance, he walked. How many times do you see that from somebody's debut? I feel like you're antsy and you want to swing right out of the bat. Drew a walk, first plate appearance, has only 1 strikeout in the 3 games he's played. Now he's hit 7th, 8th, and 8th. So I don't like hitting down in the order. I think there's less opportunity to drive in runs. I think the bulk of the Orioles production is in their 1 through 5. So the counting stats might be limited. But I got to see him in person yesterday, and he has such a pep in his step. Like he's so quick once he makes contact with the ball, running to first, and just quick wrists. I mean, the eye test alone, he looks good. I just worry about how much he's going to be able to produce when he's hitting 7th and 8th consistently.
I do want to note that he's played second base 2 games and he played third base 1 game. I did not see what they put him tonight, but it seems like they're willing to move him around to keep his bat in the lineup. And this Orioles team is so stacked, just down, up and down. You know, you have Mullins, you have the AL batting leader right now in Austin Hayes. You have Anthony Santander. You have Aaron Hicks, the revival of Aaron Hicks all of a sudden, who's hitting over 300 with O's. And you have Gunnar, you have Adley. Like there are so many good hitters in this lineup that's why I think he's hitting at the bottom of the order, because there's nowhere to put him. But the fact that they're moving him around to keep his bat is definitely something that I would note, and somebody that definitely is worth a pickup in 12 or 15 team leagues, I would say. Maybe not in Marty's 10 team format, but we'll see how he does. Let's talk about a grizzly old veteran, Joey Votto. First 3 games aren't going to, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be his first 3 games. It's his last 7. I made a mistake on the graphic. 125 batting average. Not great. He did have 2 home runs over that time, 5 RBIs, but he's over his last 9 with 5 strikeouts going into today, and he's sitting a lot of times versus left-handed pitching. Are you concerned here, LC, with the fact the Reds have so many great young hitters coming up? CES still waiting in the wings. He's destroying AAA pitching. They have so much hitting that if he's struggling at all, the fact that they could make him potentially a platoon bat or sit him a little bit more. This is kind of his last season farewell song with the Reds. So if he's not producing, and the fact that they're one of the surprise playoff contending teams, are you concerned? First of all, are you concerned? Second of all, is he worth a pickup?
He's worth a pickup if you need power. It does look like he's going to be producing power, but his batting average is his batting average has been poor. He has but he has 3 of his 5 hits are home runs, and he's 5 for 27 on the season so far. But you look at what his max EV is down now, as it was also from 2021 when he had that big power season. I still think he's a deep league ad for power right now, because I do think that there's a potential that he could be a sort of low batting average, decent power bat. But if you're in a shallow league, I wouldn't be considering him until he gets a little bit hotter than this.
All right, he is not going to hit for power.
You don't think so? He has 3 home runs already.
He has 3 home runs. He was, I think, in AAA and in his rehab assignment, hit the first stint. He went like 2 for 32 with 1 home run. Like most of his hits have been home runs, but that batting average is so low. I mean, I don't see there's any way that he hits 19 for the season.
Talk ill of Papa Votto.
I don't know about 19 for the season, but like
that's all I care about then.
I think you could get 10 more. He has 3. You can get it with 13 to 15 on the season, which would be a pretty solid second half, maybe about 1 per week. I could see him putting 1 out. What David's point about like him being a drag on the team, that is a concern though. But what would they do? Sit Votto?
I think he would sit him against lefties and become a platoon bat.
Yeah,
I think is the worst. He's not playing the field. He's DHing every game.
Yeah, so especially when CES does eventually come up, that will be something to be interesting. And Mike Soroka, if he does get the call, which I think he does, tomorrow, I believe he is getting called back up. He's doing really well now in AAA. If he does produce in his start, I think we'll probably be leading off this show, Uncle Ted Talks, next week. And let's talk about Lamont Wade. Lamont Wade's peak Votto with 15 to 20 home runs. I don't have any Lamont Wade. Do you guys?
Mm-hmm.
In TGFBI, I picked him off the waiver. He's a good just fill-in spot, middle, corner. Yeah.
He's first base outfield eligible, I think.
Kind of just does the job, but it's not flashy, right?
That's all Giants.
I got Skylar in the chat. What's up, Skylar, man? Good to see you. I haven't talked to him in a while. He's a really good dude. Let's talk some pitching. There's 2 rookie pitchers we'll have to talk about tonight. Brayan Woo, over his last 4 starts, did not have a great debut, but his last 4 starts, 20.2 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 5 walks. That should be like 27 strikeouts. Again, my mistake on the graphic. 2.67 overall ERA over his last 4 starts. He has yet to go 6 innings, but has an expected ERA of 2.45, which is more in line with what he's been doing over his last 4 starts. And he has a current swinging strike rate of just under 13%, which would be top 15 among qualified starting pitchers. So there's a lot to unpack here, LC. Brayan Woo is definitely somebody that has been picked up probably in a lot of leagues already. I would assume in like the shallower leagues, he might still be floating around out there. Do you like what you see from him, or does the lack of him going deep into games and potentially hitting the rookie wall scare you?
I think there are things other than the rookie wall and deep into his games that are scary about his approach. I think that there's potential for home run blow-ups. He's not the type of pitcher who I would pitch against a good home run team or against a team with a lot of lefties. I don't think he's really developed a solid offering against the lefties. His changeup is still getting developed. His 4-seam has been great. And he's been living off of that. And I think he's the type of team streamer who I put on a few of my teams to play against, play at home and play against softer opponents, but definitely to sit him against better teams. And, with the pitching landscape now, ride him till he's done. If they only give him 50 more innings, then you only get 50 more innings out of him. I mean, that's the pitching landscape in 2023, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy landscape. High-end starting pitching has been very volatile. And so if you can get guys like Brayan Woo who are producing like they are, definitely somebody worth the pickup and to see, even in the worst case, just against certain teams to stream him against. So Brayan Woo definitely worth the pickup. Fellow rookie Gavin Williams, somebody who was in my big 3 or 4 going into the season in terms of pitchers. Andrew Painter was in there, Gavin Williams, also Taj Bradley, and Kyle Harrison of the San Francisco Giants. Those are the 4 were my 4 favorite minor league pitchers going into the year. Gavin Williams, over his first 2 starts, 12 2/3 innings, a 2.84 ERA with 10 strikeouts. 76% of his pitches went for strikes, with 11 swinging strikes on 92 pitches, and a 1-hit 7-inning pitch outing against the Kansas City Royals in his last outing. So it looked a lot better than he did in his first one here, Doc. Gavin Williams, especially the fact that Logan Allen was designated for assignment today, demoted down to AAA. I think that he's around to stay. And you add the fact that maybe Shane Bieber gets traded. Tristan McKenzie's back on the IL and shut down from throwing. He seems like he has a secure spot in this rotation as long as he doesn't blow up.
I mean, he has a secure spot in the rotation, but what are you going to expect from him moving forward? He probably had the best 2 matchups that you can to begin a season with Kansas City and with Oakland, the 2 worst teams. You want to know who he faces in his next outing?
Who?
Atlanta. If that's not both ends of the spectrum there. I'm sorry, David, you were going to say something?
No, the only thing I was going to say was that Atlanta crushes left-handed pitching. They do well against righties, but not to the same clip that they do lefties. That's the only thing, is that if there's like a silver lining to it. And Atlanta's not impervious to having bad outings now, especially the fact they haven't seen him, before.
They're not. So. I mean, for me, that's going to be the test moving forward. He has 12.1 innings pitched on the season. He's been throwing more pitches gradually each outing. But he has a 133 BABIP also. So he's gotten pretty lucky with balls that have been in play. I mean, his stats in the minor leagues were great. 2.93 ERA in 46 innings across AAA this year, 11.9 Ks per 9. So obviously the pedigree is great. I just want to see it against a more competent major league team.
Yeah, I mean, I think is that dude. Just so you know, he is that dude. Like,
I don't think it's a whether his rotation spot is safe or not, because I do think it is safe rest of season. But I think that's not
huge though, because to have a rookie pitcher come up and to not be worried, like to have a Taj Bradley type of situation, where it's like everybody gets healthy or they're going to manipulate him and send him down. The Guardians don't seem like they're going to do that. It seems like they
didn't have him to begin the season though. If they had him start on the opening day roster, that might be a different story as opposed to bringing somebody up in June.
Well, the fact is that he should be somebody that, at least for going forward, I might be cautious in tough matchups. But if he does this again against Atlanta, I think you're comfortably starting him until you don't, for some reason, he gives you a reason not to be. So if I have Gavin Williams, I am starting him against Atlanta just for what it's worth. I'm not benching him unless it's like a 10-team league.
David, I agree with everything you said, man.
I will say this, David. Over the last 2 weeks, Atlanta's WRC plus is 157 to lead the league.
Against righties?
It's overall. They play a lefty twice in the last 2 weeks, so it wouldn't really affect it.
Okay. Well, you can go the Marty route of benching him with the WRC plus of how they've been playing.
I'm actually going to start him, but I was just saying.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're Team Gavin Williams this week. We will look really stupid or we will be really smart. We'll see. But we are going to go ahead and start Gavin Williams. Our last player here, a rare relief pitcher appearance, Scott McGough of the Arizona Diamondbacks. LC's Scott McGough, even though he's not talking about him, but he did do a lot of work against me in our head-to-head matchup last week. On the season, 42 innings pitched, a 3 ERA, 6 saves, and 12 holds. Over his previous 15 appearances, McGough had allowed just 1 unearned run over 19 innings with a 27-6 K to walk before yesterday's blow-up, where I believe he gave up like 6 earned runs. It was something ridiculous that he gave up yesterday. So one blow-up outing doesn't necessarily scare me, especially the fact that a lot of bullpen options for this team are not great. So I got to ask you, Marty, is Scott McGough somebody, if you need saves, you're comfortable picking up and putting in your lineup?
Only in the deepest league do I think I'm going to be able to really get some saves from him. His blow-up last night was 3 runs.
It was 3, okay.
Yeah, versus Tampa Bay. So, I think that's kind of par for the course for them. Saves hold leagues, he's really good. He's somebody that you need to have. The SV plus H, as I do play in 1 or 2 of those. Make sure you scoop him up. But overall, he's their best relief pitcher right now. But as you know, there's been like 3 or 4 people in that slot, and it's constantly moving. So speculation purposes for larger leagues, he's probably already scooped up. Save plus hold leagues, he's elite, even in like a 10-team league.
Now, this is kind of related but unrelated. How long before saves and holds becomes the standard format?
Like, are you talking about like NFBC?
I'm talking about NFBC, and then it starts trickling into like Yahoo, ESPN.
I don't think ever in NFBC.
That's the thing. I feel like they're going to hold on the holds and wins until a couple generations might have to die off. Shout out to all those people, though. I don't want anybody to die, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I think we got to be a few generations removed before we get rid of those.
I feel like it's like PPR for football eventually became like the standard. And I feel like this is like everybody's clamoring for it, just like they were for points per reception. It's like, what point will they cater to what the audience is asking for?
I think like in your standard like 10, 12 team home leagues, I really like it. I think it's a better way to go about it. I think it gives you the opportunity to explore the the relief pitching landscape a lot more and really dive into it.
Mm-hmm.
Larger leagues, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Especially with more teams going closer by committee.
Yep.
It's maybe a third of the league has a legit closer, like a guy that is going to be the guy.
Keeps dwindling every year, and now they even have might have two like primary closers.
It's like the Rays. Jason Adam and Peter Fairbanks keep kind of like split the job, and both of them are good. So it's definitely not great for fantasy baseball players, but we'll eliminate some stress if they do decide to go that route at some point. Let's take a look at our most added over the last week, courtesy of CBS. And Scott McGough is leading the pack, added in 32% of leagues. Jordan Westburg, Joey Votto, Brayan Woo, Michael Garcia of the Kansas City Royals, Jordan Hicks, Reed Detmers, and Gavin Williams are your most added. Taking a look at the most dropped players, AJ Smith-Shawver dropped in 28% of leagues, tops the list. Louis Varland, Tyler McGill, Brent Rooker, Domingo Germán was dropped in 11% of leagues, and then he threw a perfect game. That's just fantasy baseball for you. Jack Sawinski, Ben Lively, and Andrew Chafin are your most dropped. And looking ahead at schedules for next week, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see the teams that have 6 or 7 games. But if you're on the podcast version, just know that the Colorado Rockies and the Los Angeles Angels have 5 games. Every other team plays 6 or 7 next week. So when you're making your lineups, if you're in a weekly league, just make sure you note that for your lineup decisions. Now, LC, we are going to go into Bring Out Your Dead with your brand new graphic making its official debut this week.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Bring out your dead. Welcome everyone into Bring Out Your Dead. I am so happy to be back with you. Thank you everyone for sending in your tweets, responding to my tweet for Bring Out Your Dead. I want to start with a tweet from our good friend, the dude, the big Kimbalski, who tells us about Miguel Vargas hitting 198 and Graham Ashcraft. And like, this aggression will not stand, man. Graham Ashcraft, 7.17 ERA, 299 XBA. I think he is an easy drop. And if you look at what Miguel Vargas is doing this season, 198 batting average, absolutely right. 301 OBP, but where's the fantasy juice? What are you getting from him? 7 home runs, 3 steals. Frankly, without the batting average, unless you're really holding out in an OBP league, there's really nothing there for you right now. Next, I want to bring up Doc talking about Bryce Harper. Very upset that about Bryce. He has been on a very cold streak. His slugging percentage in June has been 284. And Fangraphs actually put out a tweet yesterday. 12 million babies have been born since Bryce Harper's last home run. However, Philadelphia 17-5 in their last 22, now sitting at 42-37. Back in the playoff hunt after that. Bryce not coming through on it. Hard for someone who just traded, just could have gotten a mint for him. But now I don't know, he's,
I should have, what people that do stock swing trading got him for the low this year, flipped him when he came back early and hit 300 the first week and homered. And I could have gotten a good profit and not had to deal with this headache because he's DH only.
Yeah, he's actually in the past 7 days, he's dropped 24 points on his batting average and almost 40 points on his slugging percentage. Really having a rough season. He's positive. I don't think that there's any reason to question whether or not he can still do it. Clearly he can. Perhaps a buy low. I'd be looking at that perhaps, but right now not giving it to you. Very tough. One Martolomew Tallman bringing up Jared Kelenic and that classic cut it out Uncle Joey meme.
Shout out Dave Coulier.
Shout out Dave Coulier. How, he's been tough. It's been tough on him. If you look at and on the YouTube, you can see the rolling graphs of his strikeouts and his batting average. That hot stretch earlier this season is the blip, and it has just been poor strikeout numbers other than that small blip in April. And the batting average is the same old story. It has been below average other than that small blip in April when he wasn't striking out. However, there's a positive. Katie, at the Orioles game, I think, was sitting by an Orioles fan taunting Jared Kelenic, telling Jared Kelenic that his pants were too tight. But Katie likes that booty. So Kelenic at least has that going for him this season. His hitting not that good, but Katie likes your butt, Jared. Christian Javier, tough break. He's had given up 10 earned runs in his last 6 1/3 innings. His last 2 starts, his ERA has gone up 0.8 runs. His WHIP has gone up 0.13 in his last 2 starts. Lance Brozdowski had a fantastic tweet describing the wacky 2023 that Christian Javier has had. And I think what you can make of this is that Christian Javier is finding inconsistent mechanics. His release point in his last start was 5 inches, I think that 5 inches shorter than it was in his previous start. The mechanics are off. The pitch movement is not consistent. He's not actually able to do what he was doing last season. And the results in the last start are clear: 6 earned runs and 1 strikeout. So next we have Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns continuing to haunt owners. David sending it in there. You got to look. March and April, 4.01 ERA, 11, about a 12 K minus walk. This is from a tweet from Matt Modica. In May, his K minus walk was 15 with a 3.30 ERA. In June, his K minus walk up finally again up to 16, but his ERA is 4.99. Now, the K minus walk for Corbin Burns is the lowest it's been. His K percentage is down at about 23, whereas it was well above 30 the last few seasons. And you see the performance on his cutter. It's being cut off by our Triple Play logo on YouTube. But I'll tell you, that cutter, which was his strikeout pitch, he got 117 Ks on the cutter last season in 2021. In 364 plate appearances. And about 120 and 464 plate appearances in 2022, 114. He only has 38 on his 220 plate appearances. That cutter's not producing the strikeouts that it used to, and that is one of the reasons why his K numbers are down. However, his strikeouts are down on the whole. I forgot. I wanted to mention we do have a new sponsor this week. Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show brought to you by ex-Major League Baseball infielder Tim Tuffle's new company, TT. TT uses only the highest quality polycarbons to create the next level cups that you have been waiting for. They also redesigned the strap, the all-new Tough strap, and you're going to want to see that. Just say triple to the clerk at your local sporting goods store, and we get 6% of each sale of cups and also shin guards coming spring 2024. Sorry about that, everyone. We're going to go on. We have one more player to talk about here and bring out your dead. That is Sandy Alcantara. I've talked about Mike Duggan. Thanks, Mike, for bringing up Sandy Alcantara. You said his last outing gives him hope. I agree. This seems like a normal swing on the skill set like Alcantara. The results are worse now, though. though it's not his speed on his pitches is not down. The results are worse. His changeup is not producing like it was last season, and he's throwing it a lot less. But as you'll see, his like barrel rate is very consistent. His EV is very consistent with like 2021, which was a perfectly good season. And as far as fantasy owners are concerned, turned him into like a 3rd or 4th round pick in 2022 when he had a great season. But what you are seeing is another thing like Corbin Burns with Sandy, that his K- walk rate is down to 12 right now, where it was sitting around 18 for the last 2 seasons. That has to come up for him to start improving. That is everyone who's on Bring Out Your Dead this week. Thanks, everyone, for sending in your tweets. We're going to load them all up and take them off to the pits.
All right. Well, that's a lot of players we're taking out this week. Always appreciate LC putting that stuff together. Just want to recognize Jasper, who's back in the chat. Jasper, glad you're doing better. Glad to have you as part of the show as always. And he is holding on to Graham Ashcraft. He thinks better days are ahead for Graham Ashcraft. Our brother Joe in our home league wants people to trade him Bryce Harper. I think this is a good buy low time. Who has Bryce Harper?
I do.
Oh, so he wants Doc to trade him Bryce Harper.
You know what? He needs some hitting. Look at that. This is the pitching staff. He got Stroman, who's day-to-day, Kershaw dealing with shoulder inflammation, Merrill Kelly getting a blood clot, Nick Lodolo.
Yeah, it's rough there.
Bring out our pitching staff.
We also got our guy Forrest in the chat. It's been a couple weeks since he's been around. It's always good having you in the chat as well. So where's the Scarlet Begonias?
That's a song by I'm
glad you knew that because I had no
idea.
idea.
Sublime does the song Scarlet Begonias. If that might be what he's talking about, it's a great song.
So while we figure out the Scarlet Begonias, if that is what Forrest meant, why don't we talk about Marty's 2-start pitchers? Right now, my toilet's overflowing, so I will be right back.
Okay. Wowza. All right. That's a hell of an intro. All right. Let's start with the no doubt pitchers here coming up for. These are the 2-start pitchers for July 3rd through the 9th. So make sure, number one, you enjoy your July 4th. We are American, by the way. It's a great time. Make sure you enjoy that extended weekend if you got it. But here are your no doubters for next week, starting with Logan Webb versus Seattle versus Colorado. Yes, I don't care that his last outing was tough. His last few, he's given up at least 3 runs. Logan Webb next week, he's good to go versus Seattle versus Colorado. And Joe Ryan, I'm still believing in him as a no doubter versus the Royals versus Baltimore. Moving on to the should starts. Aaron Nola at Tampa Bay at Miami. Shane Bieber versus the Braves versus KC. Still believing in Bieber there, but a little nervous with the ATL start, as you should be. Zach Eflin defying all odds, doing what we thought he might do as a Tampa Bay Ray, but he's been absolutely incredible across the board. Versus Philly versus Atlanta. Logan Gilbert at the Giants at Houston. Going to be a tough week for him, but I'm still pushing him through. Mitch Keller, the cover photo here at LA versus Arizona. Any other time than this year, I would have said he's a must sit. These days, he just should start, man. He's been really good all year. Jesus Luzardo versus St. Louis versus the Phillies. Another 2 pretty difficult matchups, but everything for Luzardo's, he's doing really well. He's gotten a bit unlucky, so I think that's gonna level out here. But I'm firing him up for next week. And then lastly, Tyler Wells at New York, at Minnesota, or at the Yankees, at Minnesota. 2 teams that are struggling hitting the ball. I'm firing them both up for next week. So those are the should starts.
It's a little risky with Tyler Wells. You know, he's bottom in WHIP, but gives up a lot of home runs. So
2 bottom 5 lineups over the last few weeks. So yeah, typically he's a risky business, but it's the 2 teams he's playing that I was like,
But you know, the teams he's playing are strikeout or homer teams.
Dude, the Yankees are horrible. Like, I don't know if you've watched them. Like, Donaldson's their best hitter right now. It's not good. Yeah. I would fire him up. Next is risky business. Brayan Woo at the Giants at Houston. Woo's been absolutely incredible. I know we've already talked about him a little bit, but I love him. Blake Snell versus the Angels versus the Mets. I know Snell's been doing really well. I've been starting him in my leagues, but he's going to be a risky business until the day I die. Like, I don't care if he does a month of doing well or doing awful. He's going to be a risky business from here on out. So just expect that. Christian Javier at the Rangers versus Seattle. Lucas Giolito versus the Blue Jays versus the Cardinals. Bryce Elder at Cleveland at Tampa Bay. Kodai Senga at the Diamondbacks at San Diego. Braxton Garrett versus St. Louis versus Phillies. Now with Garrett, I could see you starting him in almost any league right now. Everything that I've seen from him, it's actually been pretty good. I'm still a little weary in like the 10, 12 team leagues, but I could see you starting him up. Drew Smiley at Milwaukee at the Yanks. Julio Teheran versus the Cubs versus Cincinnati. Kyle Gibson at the Yanks at Minnesota. Lance Lynn versus Toronto versus the Cardinals. Domingo Herman. He would have been able to take a seat, but only because he threw a perfect game. I was like, well, I can't. How are you going to follow that up, a perfect game with take a seat? I'm not going to play him, but I could see why you would. Versus Baltimore, versus the Cubs. And then lastly, Kyle Hendricks back from the dead at Milwaukee, at New York. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And then lastly, the take a seats here. Let me take a deep breath here and a little drink of water before I hop into these because, oh boy, there's a lot.
Well, while you do that really quick, Jasper brings up in the chat. Logan Gilbert rest of season thoughts. Doc is a big Logan Gilbert guy, so I would like to go to Doc first.
Yeah, I mean, I traded Logan Gilbert in that deal that we talked about a couple shows ago. For me, he was always a sell high guy. I just think he's somebody that starts the season hot and then loses a little bit of velocity. I know he's improved his secondary pitches. But Seattle overall as a team has been pretty underperforming this year. I would still sell high if I could on him.
You'd sell high on Logan Gilbert.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's tough after his last outing, but after a next good game he has, I would sell.
I like Logan Gilbert a lot. I would keep him. I think if you can acquire him for anything cheaper, then I don't think you can. I'm a big believer in Gilbert rest of season. I think if you have him, keep riding with him. If someone's looking like they want to get rid of him and thinks he can't keep it up, I'm buying him.
Yeah, over the 92 innings pitched so far this season, a 3.54 xERA, a 25% or 25K percentage, and a 5.1 walk percentage. It's all looking pretty good there.
That will play.
You look at last season, first half, a 2.76 ERA, the second half, a 3.86 ERA. So almost a full run higher.
But that's still a sub-4 ERA.
Well, we have to remember, that's a 25-year-old Logan Gilbert in his first full season in the majors.
I mean, this season, ERA by months, 4.23, 3.96, 4.45.
I think he's definitely something you want to hold on to. And then Forrest brings up what he likes about Gilbert is that he trained with DeGrom.
That's not a good thing.
If you're talking about strictly stuff, I do like that. Maybe just not his injury prevention training, but everything else. But he does bring up pitching is hard to evaluate, but if someone's young, looks like durable, Gilbert hasn't missed a lot of time so far. Pitcher that's giving you quality innings, Gilbert is definitely somebody I would hold on to.
He's not walking people, and he's striking out at a good rate. Those two things, and Seattle's ability to limit home runs because of the park. What is he, top 35 pitcher? Top 40?
Close, yeah. Depends
somewhere
on where you
around
look.
There.
Yeah, but he's definitely, I think, somebody you gotta hold on to. He's been too good, and I think he'll continue to be very good. Sorry to take you away from that, but I did want to.
Hey, that's okay. I need that little break. I appreciate it. I'm feeling refreshed here. Here are the take-a-seats for next week, starting with Jake Irvin, Cincinnati versus the Rangers, Joey Wentz versus Oakland versus Toronto, Luis Ortiz at the Dodgers at Arizona, Patrick Corbin, your boy Doc versus Cincy versus Texas, Graham Ashcraft at Washington at Milwaukee, Luke Weaver at Washington at Milwaukee as well. They're both on the same team. Zach Davies versus the Mets versus Pittsburgh. Michael Grove versus Pittsburgh versus the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in the county of Orange County. Trevor Rogers at the White Sox at Detroit. Martin Perez versus Houston at Washington. If you're in a 15-team league, I could see you maybe rolling him out there just for hopes that Perez does, like treads water versus Houston, which isn't the same Astros who we've seen over the last 3 years. They're not as good right now. And then hoping that the Washington start goes really well, but I'm still staying away. Dan Dunning, I'm sorry. TED Talks, I'm sorry, buddy. It's
take a seat, really.
It's a take a seat for me. At Boston, at Washington, there is no reason to play Dunning, in my opinion, unless he knows something I don't. Dane. Miles Michaelis at Miami, at the White Sox. JP France versus Colorado versus Seattle. Clark Schmidt versus Baltimore versus the Cubs. JP Sears at Detroit, at Boston. Now, JP France is JP with 2 periods, and JP Sears, there's no period, so I don't know about that one there. Kyle Freeland at Houston, at the Giants. Adam Wainwright, who got blown up today. It's time to call it. It's time for him just to take a seat permanently. Adam Wainwright, I'm sorry, dude, you're donezo. At Miami, at the White Sox. And lastly, speaking of the same boat, Zach Greinke at Minnesota, at Cleveland. All those guys, take a seat for me. I will not be starting you under any circumstance.
Man, I have to say, I usually think you're spot on with a lot of them. You're
right. I am.
Clark Schmidt against Chicago, man. Like, it might be worth rolling.
Cubs.
Yeah, I'm saying I might even roll the dice with him against Baltimore just because of that Chicago matchup. And then also Dane Dunning. I don't think Dane Dunning is like a flashy start, but I feel like I couldn't put him in take a seat. Maybe like risky business. Like he's coming off his best outing of the season. And he has been
You're sticking up to Marty.
Is it my turn? Can I go?
Okay, go
we'll start with Clark Schmidt, 22.5 K percentage. Meh. Average at best. Walk percentage, 6.8. Meh. 4.33 ERA. Yeah, I could see in a deeper league, you probably have to start him. I mean, he's the reason why he's on your roster. He's probably your 5th pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that. In a 10-team league, 12-team league, no. Like, there's no reason to start him. Who's the other young gentleman you're talking about? I feel like we do this every week.
I'm done doubting him. I'm done.
You're Dane doubting him?
I'm done Dane doubting him, yeah.
You're done Dane doubting him. So his ERA is 2.69, while his xERA is 4.58. He has 51 strikeouts and 80.1 innings. So you're praying he is just not walking. Have you seen the StatCast page? His K percentage, 90th percentile.
Yeah.
XBA in the 19th percentile. Like he has no ability to strike out people. He is just praying that the contact he gives up, which is very hard contact, is caught.
I don't know, man.
Take a seat. Not for me. And who's he playing?
Boston and Washington.
No, you don't know. No one at Boston. I don't like that.
All right, well,
I feel like that's a risky business. David, I'm proud of you. You held your own.
I'm learning from your class of arguing with Marty.
If you have to play him, I think your hand's forced. That's the only reason why you're playing him. There's not like there's somebody else like who's a possible option. You're like, I'm going to go Dunning over him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will find out for how those guys do next week. Forrest, I got your back because I vouched for Clark Schmidt. I know you were vouching for him too. And Dane Dunning for our guy TED Talks.
We'll see you next week. We'll revisit.
We will revisit those. And Jasper did ask about Logan Gilbert because he was debating on keeping him for next year. It's a 40-man rosters. I think he's definitely a keeper for sure.
How many keepers does he get? Did he say?
I did not say. But yeah, just put it in the chat. Let us know how many keepers you have for that.
In this climate, man, anyone who's doing what Gilbert's doing, I'm holding.
Yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And he does like Dane Dunning. But he's also are you going to Atlanta for golf? Or you said gotta check. But I think that said golf. I have golf on.
Because you're always thinking about golf. Don't worry, Jasper. Jasper's going to be in Atlanta from the 10th to the 24th, and he feels like he needs to check out a Braves game. I agree. You
should check out a Braves. That atmosphere is probably electric.
I definitely wouldn't golf.
I would go golfing that weekend if you can during that time. Oh man, too much golf on the brain.
Triple Play Fantasy doesn't have a golf podcast.
We should. I'd be right at home.
Hop on board, Bubba. You're already doing it. Come on.
That's right. He is doing a golf. But I'm so mad I can't go to first pitch this year and do the golf outing. That was like
can
a
I
legend.
walk the course and get drunk?
Yeah, dude. You should.
Why not?
Are you guys gonna go?
We'll
on the
talk about
fence.
this off air.
Doc's being very professional. I like it. All right, Doc, take us to your office to talk about some potential streamers.
Yes. To the doctor's office we go. And last week we only had 2 pitchers because Andrew Heaney got scratched Sunday against the Yankees. So we only had Mr. Brian Bayo and Bailey Ober. We went 1-0 with a 2.95 ERA, a 1.06 whip, 13 Ks and 12.2 innings. That's a nice little check mark there.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to this week. Starting out with Jack Flaherty, the most handsome man in baseball, owned in 18.5% of ESPN leagues. He's gone 5 innings in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has 1 walk in 3 out of the first 5. David, remember the first couple outings this year, he was awful with walks.
Mm-hmm. He
5
cost
plus
us some money that one
he
of those
cost
days.
us a lot of money by walking 8, but not allowing any hits. But he's had 5 plus Ks in 3 out of his last 5, but he's been pretty unlucky. A 356 BABIP on the year. Yankees are 3-5 in their last 8 road games. Marty was talking about how bad they've been. 2 out of those 3 wins have been against the Athletics. And he's going to be on 12 days rest. He had a little bit of hip tightness, but that's probably as long as pitchers get for rest. That's not an IL stint. So I'm thinking maybe he gets a little bit of increased velocity. The next, Mr. Deam Kremer. Look at that picture. Owned in 15.3% of ESPN leagues. Last 3 home games, 19.1 innings pitched, a 1.10 whip, 3.77 ERA. And in 16 starts this season, he's walked 2 or less in all but 1, 5 plus Ks in 6 straight games. He's been on a roll. And Twins, even though they're first in the AL Central, they are 17-23 on the road, 4-6 in their last 10. They are reeling. The last one, Bobby Miller. I don't know how he's only owned in 44.6% of ESPN leagues. Guess he's been dropped a lot with his last 2 outings, giving up 13 earned in 9.2 innings pitched. But if you look at that prior, he gave up 2 earned runs in 23 innings pitched, allowed no home runs, and he is facing a Royals team that have scored, this was before today's game, 59 runs in the last 17 games since the Vinny P injury. They've gone 4-14. When you look at his baseball savant page, fastball velocities in the 99th percentile, has a great pitch mix that ranges from a 99 mile per hour fastball to an 81 mile per hour curve. Does a great job of limiting hard contact. So I'm liking Mr. Bobby Miller, and after this week, he's going to be owned in more than 50%.
All right, those are Doc's streamers for his doctor's office.
What happened to the rest of the ball?
Oh,
you're learning, Marty. You're learning.
Oh, gosh. Marty, I don't trash you this week, and David does, and this is what I get.
Yeah, but Marty learned too. You have problems with cutoffs. That is fantastic. Jasper says 16 keepers for our question earlier. Gilbert should be one of those keepers.
Absolutely.
IMO.
There's no way you have, what is that, 16 better players than Logan Gilbert?
Yeah.
There's no way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right. Before we get into Marty's party, I'm trying to catch up with the comments here. Yankees are sucking, yes. And
except when I stream against them. They're crushing the A's this week. They scored like 10 runs in consecutive games.
Can you imagine if someone streams Domingo Herman against you?
I streamed JP Sears against the Yankees. I thought he was going to do. He gave up. Oh, I got crushed.
Well, that was his former team, so they might know something about him. Jasper's a big Greg Maddux fan. No golf for this guy. Hold my beer. Watch. Maybe it's never too late to get into golf, Jasper. It's a very stress relieving game. But yeah, the Yankees have definitely been underperforming this year. What is Vorste's drinking? Casamigos? Or
Casamigos?
What is that?
It's tequila.
How do you know that?
I don't know. It's a pretty well-known drink.
I didn't know. I mean, Forrest is living his best life tonight. Forrest is our spirit animal for the show. He is definitely living his best life. I love it. All right, Marty Party, take us to the party, or who is potentially invited for the party this week.
I just took a shot of Casamigos. I'm feeling it here for this party here. Yeah, so Marty's party here. As you know, these are the weekend streamers. For you guys new to the show, these are 3 streamers that I feel like will be good for the weekend coming up here, but only one can make it to the party. Susan Beauchamp runs a tight ship here, so we just can't let all 3 people over. The house isn't big enough. Starting with number 1, Jaime Candelario at the Philadelphia Phillies. He is, as you know, he's on the Nationals, Washington. Third base eligible. He's only 20% rostered here on Yahoo. Over the last 7 days, 9 for his last 27 with 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 7 runs, 6 RBI. He's playing every single day. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but third base is pretty brutal this year. And when you go to your corner infield slot, I feel like the first basemans have even fallen off this year. I feel like no matter where you look, even in your CI, it's tough to find somebody to fill that gap here. So Candelario, 3 games at Philadelphia Phillies for the first choice here. Number 2, Marcell Ozuna, repeat offender in more ways than one here on the Marty's Party. He's still on Atlanta, outfielder, 47% rostered, 3 home games versus the Marlins. He's batting .250, 16 bombs. He's barreling the ball 15% of the time. You have to pick him up, across the board, no matter what league you're in. He has to be owned at this point. It's pretty ridiculous what he's doing. And then lastly, Mickey Moniak, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, outfielder, 9% rostered, hit a home run today. He's batting .314 with 7 home runs and 2 stolen bases and 3 games at home versus Arizona. I mean, that dude's batting every single day here. So, as I go to the panel here. Candelario, Ozuna, or good old Mickey. Starting with you, Art. Who would you invite to the party and why?
So, I think if we're going for strictly baseball, it's probably Ozuna, but I'm going to leave him out of the party. Heimer, I love him. I think Philly's a little bit hot. I also think he might eat one too many cheesesteaks. Might go to Pat's or Geno's and eat one too many cheesesteaks. And Mickey, I think if I was picking for baseball, he'd be number 3. But because his name's Mickey, I want him at the party for baseball.
Good old Mickey Mouse. DMendy 02. Who do you got?
I forgot the stat I heard, but it was something about Jaime Candelario, whether it was his WAR or something that it was some stat that he basically has been one of the 5 to 10 best players in the National League this year. I think it was on rates and barrels, but I can't remember what the stat was. So I think Jaime Candelario is sneakily kind of been overperforming or performing, and people haven't talked about him a lot. So I'm going to go with Jaime Candelario because I feel like he gets no love and he's quietly producing a really good season.
Doc.
Well, it's not Marcell Ozuna. Come on, Marty. I'd be disappointed if he was invited to your party, and then we might have to reflect on your actions. Jaime Candelario has had a sneaky good season, and the Nats have been better than people expected and Vegas expected, and we haven't talked about that enough. But Mickey Moniak, the alliteration, I feel like Mickey's they're exuberant, and I feel like that's the person you're needing for a small party. You can't just have a small party and everybody kind of be bland and boring. So M Squid is my final guess.
I don't hate it, but I'm going with the Candy Man, Jaime Candelario,
former Tiger,
Washington, third base, 20% rostered.
Forgot he was a former Tiger. That gave it away.
He was, and a former Cub. I thought he was going to be a little bit better there. I know, as Art shakes his head and potentially cries himself to sleep, he was never very good on the Cubs. But yeah, I'm going Jamer this weekend. But honestly, you can't go wrong with either of those. Ozuna's killing it. Moniak, and if you're in a deep league, scoop him up. Batting .314 with 7 home runs and 2 stolen bases. The Angels are picking it up a little bit offensively. You can't go wrong. But the Candy Man, we're gonna have a bunch of candy for this young man, and I'm excited for it. Yeimer, welcome to the party, buddy.
Who can do it? What was it? What's the song? It's like the Candyman can.
Yeah, Willy Wonka.
That's not Willy Wonka, is it?
Are you thinking about I'm the Candyman?
No, it's like
the Candyman can. That's from
Candyman can.
Yeah, Willy Wonka.
That's not Willy Wonka.
Yes, it is. Or Charlie and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I don't know where you're looking.
That is definitely not from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Hold on. I want to hear what you think it's from, because this is going to be unbelievable. Because I know it's from Willy Wonka. So I want to hear what you think it's from.
That's definitely not from.
You're right, David. It's from something completely different.
I'm gonna look this up.
Right.
Well, we get to our last segment of the night, which is Elsie going through some potential good hitting or pitching matchups you could take advantage of this next week.
Sammy Davis Jr. sang the Candyman can. It's not from Willy Wonka.
Oh my God.
I just Googled it.
That's not true. The Candyman sang that song in Willy Wonka. The Candyman.
No, you're thinking of a different song.
Yeah. It's when he came out with the cane and did the cartwheel.
No, there's actually the Candyman where they're all inside of the candy store and he's singing it. He makes the world taste good. And he's giving people.
He might have sung it in the movie, but that's not where it's from.
Elsie, you do your thing. I'll be back.
Okay. I see what you got there, Marty. I see what you got there. Let's do our WRC plus Lahu Zahers. Something I'm going to start calling the Undy Hundy Club for the past 2 weeks. Teams that have under 100 WRC plus. The two teams at the top, both at 98, Mets and Orioles. The Mets have not had Alonso all of the last 2 weeks. I think they're not a team I would shy away from, but I don't think that they're a team I'm targeting, and the Orioles also a team I'm not targeting. There are a few teams on here that are surprising. The Dodgers are on this list right now. They have a 81 WRC plus over the last 2 weeks. Basically, three of their best hitters, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and JD Martinez, have been slumping over the last 2 weeks. Freddie Freeman, since Doc traded for him, 224, 309, 347. And you're also looking at guys like James Outman, Jason Hayward, and Miguel Vargas getting way too many plate appearances. This is clearly a team that's in the market for a trade. Phillies also on this list. Like I said, 17-5 over the last 22 games. However, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper combined for 3 home runs over the last 2 weeks. 147 plate appearances for those three home runs. The Yankees, of course, on this list as well. They will beat me when I try to stream against them. And when last week I did check out. I picked a few streamers last week, and the only one who actually pitched well was Paul Blackburn, and he pitched very well, 5 1/3 innings for a .94 WHIP. But JP Sears got blown up by the Yankees. Patrick Sandoval pitched today and gave up. What did he give up? Like 6 earned runs or 7 earned runs in 5 innings. Jaime Barria got blown up. Garrett Whitlock got blown up. JP Sears. So it was tough. It was tough sledding last week, where Paul Blackburn so far this week is the only one who's really pulled through, and he pulled through in a big way. Emmett Sheehan, another guy I picked, start delayed. The game is delayed tonight. There are a few guys I want to point out just as if you're desperate. The Giants and Twins are both really poor against lefties. And if you need one start and you're in an extremely deep league, Austin Gomber and Cole Irvin, both coming off of good starts, left-handed pitchers going against them. I do not consider that to be a great option. I have better options, but if you are desperate, that is something I'd look towards. I think the best one starts this week of people who are widely available in ESPN and Yahoo leagues are guys like Kyle Bradish, who's playing the Yankees. He's been very good. If Kyle Bradish is available in your league, I think he's a keeper. Reese Olson, widely available as well. Detroit is playing the A's. Michael Lorenzen as well, playing the A's. So both of those I would recommend picking up. Ryan Nelson as a start against the Pirates, and he's coming off a very good start. And I think that the Pirates are just very cold right now on offense. So Ryan Nelson next Friday has the Pirates. I think that's a good start to pick up. The Giants, Anthony Desclafani. I really like how he's been pitching lately. He's playing the Rockies in San Francisco, Rocky Road next Friday. That's a very good start. He's widely available in ESPN and Yahoo leagues. And the Royals have, I think, 3 guys going against them next week who have 1 start against them next week who are widely available for some reason in Yahoo and ESPN leagues. Kenta Maeda, Tanner Bybee, and Aaron Savale. I would recommend picking up any of those 3. In the deepest of leagues, I think you're going to be looking at guys like Lorenzen, Nelson. Deam Kremer has the Yankees next week, and I like Doc's pick of him for the weekend. I also like his pick for against the Yankees next week, though I do think that there's a potential that could be a blow up. Yanni Chirinos is playing the Phillies. They're not been hitting well. That's if you're desperate as well. And also Alex Wood has the Rockies on the road, but he has been very inconsistent lately as well. That's the pitching streamers this week. I'm going to give you 2 hitting streamers for next week. I like, as an outfielder, David Peralta has been a hitter who's been hot on the Dodgers as the rest of the team is getting cold. And when you're looking at the Dodgers and just waiting for Freeman and Betts and JD to heat up, Peralta might be able to be a good pickup. He's hitting 313 over the last 2 weeks. And they're facing 6 games against Pittsburgh and the Angels at home, both teams who have a high season-long xFIP. Christian Arroyo is my infielder, available all over the infield. Home, Texas is coming to town, and Oakland. I think Arroyo is a good pickup if you need an infielder for streaming next week. Muted, David.
Muted.
That's hilarious. I was listening to the Candyman.
Here it is. 1972, Sammy Davis Jr. Shout out to Sammy D, though. You know, I'm not taking this from him. 1972, he wrote The Candyman. But there was a little film called Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in 1970.
What's it called?
Willy Wonka. The point is, the song The Candyman in the movie was 1971. Sammy D wrote his song in 1972. He stole it.
Yeah.
Well, this is a scandal because there's no way.
Idea steal right there.
Tallman, very nice.
I don't know. We need some of our listeners to do some detective work. What came first? What came first, the Sammy Davis or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Let us know for the Candyman Can song. But that's going to wrap us up here this week. Great work from all the fellas and all the research and everything they're putting in each and every week. And if you guys have not already, please make sure you're subscribed to Triple Play Fantasy on YouTube. We go live here every single Thursday night around 9 p.m. do our baseball show. We also have the call up and we have the fantasy baseball beat for all of the fantasy baseball content you can handle over at, of course, with Triple Play Fantasy. All that stuff is, of course, also on the podcast version. You can get anywhere you find podcasts. And we have a Discord. If you would like to join, you can always reach out to any of us on Twitter, and we will give you the link into the Discord. And I'm not going to shout out Verdi & Global this week because there's no clothing. We have to figure out a new clothing sponsor for us that can get some Triple Play Fantasy swag. But appreciate all you guys listening. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment below for the old algorithm. For Lil Cheesecake, for Doc, for Marty Party, I'm DMendy. We're going to make like a bread truck and we're going to haul these buns. We'll talk to you guys next week.